Hey everyone, Kate here with IMS, and in this week's how-to video, I'm going to continue the topic that we started last week, and that is how we can work from home safely. In today's landscape, more people are finding themselves having to, or with the ability to, work from home entirely, or at least in some sort of hybrid model, and so we want to make sure we're educating everyone on how to do that as safely as possible. So we're going to do a quick recap on the 4 topics we're covering in this series, do a little bit more in-depth recap of last week's video, and then get into today's topic. So the 4 topics that we're looking at are computer safety itself, so talking about what we can do to physically protect that computer. Passwords and your password posture will be this week's topic. Next week's topic is going to be home security network, so meaning how we can keep our home network as secure as possible. And then the final topic we'll discuss is us, the end user, and what habits and mentalities we can instill on ourselves to make sure we're staying as secure as possible. So again, a real quick recap from last week's video. We discussed computer updates, making sure that either a Windows, Mac, or Linux computer is as up to date as it can be, making sure we're keeping up to it, and seeing if we can start in scheduling automatic updates. Talked about antivirus and how having a purchase, normally a subscription-based antivirus, is the best model to go by, as you're getting those normally daily antivirus updates. Separate accounts for both work and personal if you're unable to have 2 separate computers to do that for us. Limit access to the computer for your friends and loved ones, and if they are using the computer, you're able to watch and validate whatever they're doing is correct, not necessarily saying they're doing something wrong, but they may accidentally download something that may not be safe. And again, for them, have separate accounts if possible. And then we discuss hardware updates. Normally, hardware on a computer is good for about 5 years. They may be able to still have the operating system still, but the manufacturer has stopped supporting the hardware itself, so driver updates and security updates for the hardware may not be out anymore, so you may have some vulnerabilities that will creep up because of that. So, moving into this week's topic, we're talking about passwords. The reason why I talk about this, and I know I have a dedicated video, and I'll have a link in the little iCard up above on that video, is this is a very, very important part, and it's something us, the end user, can do to help protect ourselves, both on a personal level and on a business level. So, in today's landscape, the hacker is hitting the screen, hitting the keyboard, green screen pops up and says, "You've successfully hacked the network." It doesn't really happen anymore, like we see it on TV. No, 9 times out of 10, what will happen is a website or place will have an attack, a breach will happen, and the attackers are actually able to exfiltrate some data, maybe that be account numbers, usernames, and passwords. They'll bundle that all up and then post it on the dark web for sale. Now again, the dark web is just a place that our normal web browsers can access. It's normally where nefarious tasks happen, as well as people trying to use this because they can stay anonymous. Now, someone will purchase that data from that dark web and see that Bob used the password pizza123 because he really likes pizza. We then use social engineering, look up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever that looks like, and find out that Bob lives in Bismarck, North Dakota, and we can now see the banks that live near Bob. So we can take Bob's password that we got from that breach and try and use it on those different accounts. See if we can get into any of them. And maybe we'll just tweak them a little bit differently because that website requires something different. So now that, let's say, Target had that breach and someone purchased the data from there, they were able to use that password and get into Bob's account. Now, why is that happening? Well, because there's normally 3 types of people in the world when it comes to passwords. Bob is person number 1, where they use the same password for every different account, because remembering all the passwords that we need for all of our websites, all of our applications, is hard because there's just so many. They require different, variations, links, and all that stuff, so it can get frustrating to try and remember a password. So they find a password that they think is good, and they use that as many places as possible. Maybe they just tweak it a little bit different. So now, if I get a password for website A, I might be able to get to website B. Person number 2 is someone that maybe does use secure passwords, but they normally store them insecurely, meaning that they have an Excel sheet where they store all the passwords there, and then they also have maybe a document or Holy Bibles tucked somewhere that's where they have it. Why that can be potentially not safe is because A, if it's either on the computer or written on some sort of sheet of paper, Holy Bible, and it's physically stolen, that attacker may now be able to have access to keys to the kingdom. Or if it is stored on the computer, they are able to then grab the keys to the kingdom, get that data, and now they have access to not only your computer, but all of your other accounts and applications, which again can be very, very scary. And person number 3, which is hopefully where we get everyone going, and that is someone that uses a secure password and stores them securely. So how do I get to being person number 3? So we try and use a strong password for every different website or application and validate it's a unique password. That way, again, if website A gets breached, we don't have to necessarily worry about website B or C. We can just change the password for website A. We use a password vault to help manage all those passwords. So again, normally the reason why person 1 is using the same password is that management of passwords is very, very difficult. But now with a vault or a password manager, we can store all of our passwords securely. That password manager will actually create secure passwords for the website, so we don't ever have to do the hard work thinking about it. And we'll then normally autofill those passwords into those websites and into those applications for us. So again, we don't ever normally have to see that password. I normally tell our clients that they should only have to really remember 2 passwords in the world. One to get onto the computer and one to get onto their password vault. And hopefully both of those passwords are strong and secure and separated. The other big thing a password vault does is it encrypts that vault. So even if someone does get that file, they are not able to get into that file unless they have the encryption key, password, and again, normally there's some sort of 2-factor authentication put onto that account to help keep it nice and safe. Next topic we'll talk about is dark web scans, and do them if you can. Now again, the reason why this is so important is if for people who have a data breach, they sell that stuff on the dark web. So if I can scan the dark web, what it will do is it'll say, hey, Bob, we saw that website A had a breach and they were able to get your username and password. We recommend to go change that password, and any website that might use a similar password. So now that Bob is aware of that, he can preemptively go and change those passwords, hopefully before someone gets into those accounts. Now, where do I get this dark web scan? Some password vaults will actually allow you to do it. They will have that built into them. And then some identity protections will also do that as well. And sometimes they'll go a step further in those variations and give you account numbers and bank numbers that might have gotten compromised as well. So you can contact those banks and credit cards companies to get those cards updated and changed as well. So what kind of applications do I recommend? Now, there's a whole bunch of different password vaults out there that can do that dark web scan. Personally, I use, and again, this isn't sponsored or anything, but I use 1Password. I've got my friends and family onto it. We love it. It does a great job. There's other ones out there such as like Keithburr and LastPass. But again, be careful on the password vault you choose. Do some research beforehand, because some password vaults have had a breach and some things were taken, meaning that the way they were doing the encryption may not have been as up to snuff as they thought it was. So again, do your research. If you have questions on which password vault might be the best one to choose from, reach us at IMS. We will help you out. So you can either leave a comment below or email us at info@imsnetworking.com, and we'll respond to you as soon as we can. Now, final topic we're going to talk about is multi-factor authentication, and I will get on my podium and I will preach about this every day for as long as I can, because this is so important, because it can stop so many different attacks. So again, multi-factor authentication is if as soon as I enter a website, enter my username and password, it'll require some sort of other authentication to get inside that account. So may that be biometrics, a one-time code that you get off an app or a text message, or maybe you'll push to your phone and you hit approve. Whatever that looks like, that extra authentication is that multi-factor authentication. Now, I know so many people don't like 2-factor authentication because it adds an extra 5, 10, 15, 30 seconds to their workflow, and it can get really frustrating over a period of time. But again, I promise you that extra 30 seconds you're spending to log in every morning will save you hours of headache and misery if your business or your personal accounts got compromised. I myself have 10 to 15 2-factor authentications I have to do just to get my computer into a working state. So I feel for you But again, I would never take those off because I would rather have that extra time wasted there instead of having to worry about if myself or my clients were potentially vulnerable. So again, to kind of wrap up the passwords, use a strong, secure password for every different thing that we have, website, application, you name it. Use a password vault or manager to help keep those passwords managed, secured, and safe. Dark web scans when we can to make sure we're doing some preventative work in case something does happen. And then finally, multi-factor authentication, anytime, anywhere, every time. All right, that wraps up this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave us a comment below or email us at info@imswebnetworking.com email. And again, like, favorite, and subscribe to this video, and stay tuned to our next week's video. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you then. Bye.